Okay, we're
So
recording.
I'll read the script. This is Gary Beller, Chair of the Advisory Committee for Non-Voting Taxpayers. Permit me to confirm all members and persons anticipated on the agenda present can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. So let's just go through the list. Lou?
Here.
Bill Gardner?
Here.
Peter?
Here.
Don?
Present.
Bill? Did I miss, who did I miss? Oh, no. And Ron Berman, a visitor from outside. I'm glad you're back.
And Kathy, I'm here.
And Kathy, you're here as well. Okay.
Gary's here also.
And Gary's here also. This open meeting of the ACNVT is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus, in order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting may feature public comment. For this meeting, the ACNVT is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you. State your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair. Items after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting. And finally, all votes taken at this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay, that's the script, folks. So, and it's just us folks right now on the committee. So let's look at the agenda. You've all got a copy of that. And we propose to follow the agenda. Any comments on the agenda? So we'll move ahead to the next item, which is the minutes of our meeting for August 8th. Kathy sent around those meetings. Anybody have any comments about the minutes? No, they look okay. Someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, well done. Thank you all. Okay, so now we were going to hear from the Stephen Arceneaux, but from a note he sent the other day, I was wondering whether he was confused as to what time he's supposed to be on. He said 10:30, and I sent a note yesterday saying it's really 10. But I don't know if he got that note and is responding.
Can we send him a text or an email right now?
Kathy, would you like to send him a little note or something?
Yeah, I can do that. Okay.
And I sent him a note yesterday with some additional areas that I thought he might cover for us. One of those, you know, the town is about to spend over $30 million on a sewer reconstruction project. I think they got the funding either from the state or from the federal government, and think he should tell us a little bit about that as well. In the meantime, since we have, yes, Don? You're on mute, Don. Unmute yourself.
Maybe we can discuss the letter you wanted sent to me.
Yes, good idea. So I've sent that, I've been struggling with this for some time, and different iterations. Bill Sherman sent a revision yesterday, which looked pretty good to me as well. And I was thinking about it, I'm sorry that, it's now kind of late August already, but since this is a little different season than we've ever had before, it looks like we're going to have a lot more of the seasonal types here for a much longer part of the year. I know club I belong to has done some surveys as to how long they're trying to figure out how long they have to continue serving food and stuff like that. And surprisingly, much more people than, maybe not surprisingly, a lot more people than in the past will be here through the month of September, and many more than in the past will be here even through October. So maybe it's not too late to put something in the Inky. So what do you folks think about that idea of writing that letter to the editor? When I wrote the first long one, my wife looked at it and said,
One
so,
quick thing, Gary.
Yes,
Peter Kahn's trying to get in, and he says he can't get in. I don't know if somebody has to let him in or.
I had to let him in,
invite him
sorry.
in.
Okay, great, thanks.
I was putting the email out. Oh, and here's Steve.
Oh, good.
So we
And Bill
have,
Sherman too, I see. Oh, great.
Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, so Peter, you have to put yourself, open the video.
Yeah, I just got in here. Here we
Great.
go.
And Bill Sherman, nice to see you here. Are you going to share with us with the video or? And Stephen, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Sorry that I'm a little late. Tried my laptop, didn't work. Tried my iPad, didn't work. My phone worked. So
Okay.
that's why you have That's why you have
Redundancy.
redundancies in place. Exactly.
Yes. Okay, so I think we'll talk about the letter later on, since we have Stephen here. And Kathy sent him a note with a couple of questions, and I sent him some stuff yesterday with some additional questions. So, Stephen, would you like to chat about the priorities, what's going on with the DPW these days, in these days of the pandemic? One of the questions that I had mentioned yesterday that you might want to think about is, in view of the pandemic and of the budget system with the town and the reduced, are there going to be repercussions in terms of our DPW's ability to get stuff done that they normally would get done because of a reduced staffing or reduced budget?
Well, that's due to money. We do not have an issue as of yet. We got a 17% increase this year. So we're not doing bad financially. We can always use, any department would always want more money, more options. What we have manpower wise is a combination of legacies who have been here for 30 years or more are leaving us. People looking for upward mobility, moving to other departments. And right now we have with housing as an issue, and we're having a hard time competing with the general market for landscapers and other construction because of what we start paying for seasonal labor and for entry-level labor. So we're working to be more competitive with that. We're working to be more competitive. We're working to market ourselves better, explaining our benefits and our basically the benefit of working with the town as far as having resiliency within your own home, having the medical coverage, having the stability. Even when COVID happened, many private organizations had to put a pause and or stop to work. We continued to work. So you know, there are benefits to that, but housing and how much we pay tend to be issues. But we're working on those as well. The
So you're
town's
not limited by by budget restrictions. It's really a desire to get people to fill the openings that you have available.
Yes, and we have some competition outside of town and within town. Private markets paying more, and within town, you know, people think of public works and in sewer as not very intellect intensive jobs, so to speak. I'm not trying to put ourselves down. It's just that, you know, that's some of the perceptions. You see guys pushing a lawnmower or going into a storm drain or a sewer drain. But sewer has a number of very high certifications that are required by the state and federal government. So there's room for progression there. As DPW, we're looking more for someone who is, you know, detailed, willing to work various jobs, someone who's able to be reactive as well as plan. So we're looking for a different type of person. Someone who's very resilient, and housing and money, those are two issues that we have with that. But however, we are working towards contracting some of our work, such as the line painting. We reached out to, we put out a contract for that, and we got some good work done out of that, and took some of my foremen to manage the contract itself, and had an opportunity to teach contract management to my foreman. And that's something that we're going to be looking more into, is contracting the larger scopes of work and develop the team that we have to be a bit more reactive so that we can respond more readily to the citizens. But as far as large works, like covering all the potholes on the island in one swoop, we are hoping to do a contract for something like that. The lines, you know, all the painting and of the crosswalks and double yellow lines, single lines, even some parking. We're looking for, we're using contracts for that. But we still have capable people on our team, like Ray Silva, Ryan Clark. They'll be out there. You'll see them out there patching up some work that has been damaged because of accidents or because of just wear and tear. They're capable of doing it. It's just the volume of work is too much for our staff.
Thank you.
Sorry if I said too much on that one.
There was something we saw at one of the select board meetings about a $30 million sewer reconstruction project.
That's David Gray's purview.
That's strictly the sewer department.
That is the sewer department. However, water and DPW will be working with them, because we are trying to reduce the time that we take away from road use. So if we have to open up, say for instance, North Liberty, you'll see all three of us there, but that was sewer's project. You know, we're trying to, if we open the road, we're trying to take care of everything that's in the road right then and there, instead of splitting everything up and doing it on our own, trying to come together and work as a team instead of as separate entities. But that is sewer's project.
Stephen, they do sewers. What about storm drains? Does DPW do storm drains?
DPW has storm drains, and because of our capacity, sewer has helped us. Every now and then you'll see a sewer truck helping us with the storm drains. Historically, if you look at a map, you'll see that the town map, there are layers on there that you can go into, and you can pull up utilities. The sewer falls right in line with a lot of our catch basins, and that's because the old school of thought was to let the catch basins fill up and help purge the sewer lines. Well, now we have a sewer facility, so that is counterintuitive. It doesn't work with having a sewer facility, having that kind of thing. We're actually flooding it with too much water. So we've been taking away those connections. And Rob McNeil is working with some engineering firms to make key fixes in some of our water tributaries to make sure that we have a good stormwater flow and have it go to a proper outfall. And it's complicated because we have sea level rise and we have a lot of wetland. Most of our outfalls go towards the sea or to the wetland, and so it's a complicated matter. So we're getting outside help with that, with the design and engineering of it. But you'll be seeing certain areas triaged, so to speak. We'll be like Lily Street. We're working on improving the drainage there. We did a massive cleanup with the Children's Beach area, Whalers Lane. That pipe was like a clogged artery. It had 75% sand, which contributed to some of the flooding in South Beach and Easton. There are a number of things, but that was one of the things. So once we did a huge clean out of that, and I think this will lead into another question you had, once we were able to correct some of the issues with the Children's Beach pump house, we're now able to maintain a better flow there. So we're going to be moving on to other tributaries like the Easy Street area, Consu Springs area. We have a lot of work to do.
There's a pump underground at Children's Beach now, but there's also
Yes.
an appropriation coming up, and it was approved at the last town meeting or election meeting for a $3.2 million upgrade. Is that the same pump or is it a different pump for Children's Beach?
I believe that is, I have to talk to Rob on that. I believe that is a different pump. What we've done so far was to prevent any further damage to the pump house and the pumps. What the engineers did was create a baffle system within the pump house to reduce the force of the water hitting against the pump, which is what was believed to cause one of the contributing factors to causing some of the issues with the pump house. And they changed out the duct bills and put a different type of valve system in to prevent backflow. There were a number of engineering changes that were made, but we do need a better pump, and so I believe that's what that money is for. But I don't know the details of that. I have to talk to Mr. McNeil about that.
Does that have anything to do with why there was E. coli at Children's Beach last week?
Last week, if there was E. coli at Children's Beach, I'd have to talk to is it Emily? I forgot who does the testing. We'll have to coordinate with them. That probably was brought to Rob's attention. I'm just now hearing about that from you. I haven't had a chance to talk to Rob about the drainage and the stormwater this week. I've been working on permitting this week, but yeah, let me put that in. I will give you a response for that as soon as I get some information from Rob.
Now, other folks have some other questions. Who would like to ask some questions? Peter?
Yeah, on the, apparently stormwater is one of the DPW big concerns. And my observation from being on the island for about 13 or 14 years is that one of the main contributors to stormwater problems is the development. For example, the road that I'm on probably has twice as many houses on it as it did 15 years ago. And when I look at what HDC does and sometimes what the planning board does, is in my uneducated view, they are not giving enough attention to the hardscaping, which is in their province, and the building and the watershed. And so, for example, you're not seeing them require dry wells and other things of that nature on the property that can really help keep the water on the property and control it, rather than sending it onto your streets or even streets that you're not responsible for. And so to get to the end of a long question, that's sort of the preface. Should the DPW, is the DPW involved in encouraging on the development end better controls at the source for the source of stormwater?
No, absolutely. Excellent observation. It's how do I approach this? We have a number of people on the island who are significantly developing their areas, and the people who are not developing their areas get left behind and are getting flooded out. There are at least 4 areas that I know of where my heart goes out to these homeowners. Their backyards are turning into pools because of all the development happening around them. And part of that, it's just a complex issue though, because part of that is we don't have proper drainage in those areas. They're developing in the areas without proper drainage. And yes, we are talking with Plus and about encouraging better use of drainage. I don't know if dry wells specifically have been talked about, but we have expressed our concern with the amount of development happening and the lack of planning in regard to stormwater and drainage. It's my understanding that David Gray has also expressed concern about a lack of planning when it comes to sewer, and that's why he's trying to improve his sewer, is the sewer infrastructure as well, because of the increase in development. And as far as there are so many different things on this, but basically the short answer is yes, we are discussing that, and we are trying to make sure that drainage and sewer are in the planning when it comes to development. And it's not as simple as we would like it to be because of people's rights.
Thank you for the answer. And I guess from our point of view as a committee, what is it that we could do to help in that regard? Because I think it is if not a significant problem, it's a growing problem for people who are just, sort of standing still and things are happening around them. Unless you want to do the inefficient thing of, fly specking everything that's happening in your neighborhood, it would be great if a department of the town had this on their sort of checklists of things to make sure are being attended to, and given the best available technology to minimize or eliminate a problem. And for us, those of us, a lot of us, I think here on the line are on public ways that are not paved, and therefore you don't have to worry about them. But we're getting, a lot of washout on account of this, and we all pay the same taxes whether or not we have a paved street in front of us.
Yes. I just ask that you remain vocal. There are problems with the existing process that we're trying to address, and one of the things that I know that myself and other people in the various departments in town, we pointed this out, and we are working together. Libby, Rob, David, Mark, we're all aware of it. Communication, cooperation, and transparency is what we're trying to emphasize. It didn't always exist. Historically, a lot of things were done with a handshake and a smile, and that proves for good interaction and good, and it's good on the surface, but it allows things to fall through. So a number of us, we are communicating better, and what we do as well is without us changing our process and procedures, we are speaking more to homeowners and property owners directly and asking them to consider this. And what I've noticed is that usually when we ask a homeowner, we tell the homeowner directly, this is what's happening. Can you have this plan put in place on your property? And Rob has talked to more people than I have, but the two homeowners I had discussions with, they've actually put in place infiltrators and means of controlling drainage on their properties. As long as I think getting people to be aware of it before they start building is a big thing. No one wants to be told that they don't have the right to do something on property they pay a hell of a lot of money for. So the best thing we can do is inform them, educate them, and ask them to be a team player as of right now. But in the long run, I hope that we continue to work towards refining our processes, and I think that's something.
Well, it sounds like a way to improve the situation is to have requirements that need to be met in the planning and building permit stages. And what I see is that generally they have professional engineers that say, we don't need any special drainage, and it's predictable that they will, and then they build it, and of course you've got a drainage problem. And so that's, I think, part of the problem that I see. But if there was some entity, whether it's the HDC or the building department, that had a regulatory say in these drainage issues, that might help to get them resolved.
Actually, and this has been recent, and I say recently, like the last 8 to 12 months, I have been doing a lot better communicating with Plus, with Holly Backus, Megan Trudell, a number of other people, and we've been doing a lot more information sharing. And so when I see a property being developed, we immediately email them, call them, hey, can we get the plans for this? Can we get the plans for that, and do a review? And then we address it right then and there. I don't know how effective we are being, but we do like what we're seeing in the approach and the dialogue that's going back and forth, because a lot of things weren't even considered. It was, this is their property, they have the right to do what they want to do. But we are bringing more and more attention to the fact that we are flooding out our neighbors, and we are exacerbating a drainage issue that we cannot fix within the next year or two. This is something that's going to be triaged within the next year or two, and then a larger fix will be put in place within the next 5 or 10 years. But so the communication is happening, and the need is being acknowledged, and that's a huge step right there.
Thank you. I do have one other pet peeve, and I hate to,
No, go ahead.
Make it real simple and quick. And it's encroachments, and it's basically encroachments where streets come together. For example, North Liberty and Cliff. And it's the kind of encroachment I'm talking about is visual encroachment, so that when you're trying to turn onto Cliff from North Liberty or vice versa, things have grown up and you can't see, and it's a dangerous situation. And we have the same problems at both ends of our street. And in the past, the DPW has been very helpful in that area of, instead of going to the property owners, because I mean, that's just it's like banging your head against the wall. Getting a crew out to kind of clear the intersections, so to speak, of visual encroachments. And is that something you are still doing or still can do?
We have created a encroachment work group. We have partnered with Ken Bogrand, and we meet every couple of weeks and discuss our encroachments. My operations manager, Richard Moore, everyone knows him as Mo. He's already got listed and has taken down all the encroachments that he's seen, visual, because our priority is visual and safety encroachments, then legal. So we're already backlogged, of course, because this has been going on for a number of years. We haven't been consistent in managing this, but we believe we have a better system now. What we do is meet every 2 weeks. We pinpoint our top priorities, and we address those in real time, and contact homeowners or property owners or property managers. And some of them tend to be more complicated than others, especially when you have a neighborhood involved or an HOA involved. But we've been getting really good responses so far. So you're going to see that start to accelerate as far as progress. I admit I have received personally a number of calls on Pleasant, on and in a number of different areas that I myself, yes, I do know it's not good, and it hasn't been addressed in over a year or more. But we now have it. We now have an actual committee who can contact everyone and work it out and get everything realistic, get the realistic expectations taken care of, and we have a means of enforcing it. So as of right now, we have a policy in place with the town that is not well known. It's like within 15 days of being notified, DPW can go out there and fix the problem for you, and then we'll charge the work to you. We're trying to go the more peaceful, the more cooperative route right now, and it's been successful. But we're just now starting this, so I know on the outside looking in, it looks like nothing's really being done. It's still too slow, but I believe it will start building up and getting better and better with our communication, and we'll improve this. And the policy that I'm referring to with the 15 days is something that's been in place since about 2006. It hasn't been addressed for some time, so that's something we may bring back up to the town and see if they still want to continue using that policy or if they would want to make improvements on it. It's something that's been neglected for a while, but we are addressing it.
Thanks, Steve.
So who, if you want to get on your list, who is the best person to send a location and a couple of pictures to say, hey, is this on your list of encroachments, visual encroachments?
Oh, the best thing to do I'm glad you brought that up. On the town website, all the way in the right-hand side at the top bar is something, it says how to. If you click how to, it'll come up with a number of options there. And I'll send that to you after the meeting. Let me see, I'm looking at it right now. It has how do I apply for, contact, park, report an issue, request, review. So how do I, and then report an issue. And you have the options of reporting an issue with bus or shelter, litter or graffiti, milestone road, or street lamps that are broken. So, okay, that kind of rules all that out. So then you'll have to go to, here we go, under request, public works assistance. So you click that, you just type in the information. Please leave us your name and contact, a number and email, and then we'll be able to work out the issue. It's our process is, it starts off as a service request. Basically, a service request means that we are taking in a complaint or a concern or an issue, and we review it on the spot to see if it's something that needs to be turned into a work order or continued for investigation. If it's obvious it's a work order, like you send us a picture of a pothole or a sinkhole, or something extremely dangerous, it's immediately turned into a work order. We get our on-call guy on it. We're moving out. We're going to fix it. If it's something that can wait a little while, then we'll send somebody out we'll send my one of our foremen or our managers to investigate it to see, where we could put this in line with our other work. We have too few people right now where we can just pull guys off and immediately send them to another job. It derails the whole workday. So we're trying to do it ourselves as far as management and leadership to do the inspections and make sure that to tell the difference between something that needs to be investigated and put into queue or something that needs to be addressed immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I left one thing out. If it's an absolute emergency and you don't have time to navigate all that, call dispatch, and then dispatch will contact us.
Go ahead, Don.
Yes. Yeah, if we get a call from the police saying cars are sinking into the ground, we're not going to ask questions. We're just going to go out there. Well, we'll ask questions, but you know what I mean.
Thanks for that information. I was just wondering, drainage water is not just water. There's other things in it.
Yes.
And in your plans, do you take that into account when you speak to homeowners? And the second part I was wondering is if you take care of traffic signage in town, like
Yes.
stop signs, things like that. And one of the things I know is I live here in New Jersey, and one of the things they use traffic signs before entering traffic circles to better regulate the flow into the circle. I was wondering if some sort of digital stop sign or mechanical stop sign that turns around and stop and go, much like I guess, a school traffic person to better regulate traffic. Because one of the problems, especially going on Milestone, and I think it's Acadia, you can wait there a long time before you can make that left-hand turn to get into,
Yeah.
and it's by the good graces of some nice driver that they let you get into line. And I was wondering if something like that might improve the flow when there are intersections just before the circles.
Traffic flow, traffic signage is regulated. I shouldn't say regulated, is filtered through the traffic safety work group. So there's a council of people, of stakeholders, DPW is included, and my line and signs foreman, Ray Silva, he's included on that traffic safety work group. They deal with no parking lines, safety signage, road signage, necessary signs. This traffic safety work group also allows for public hearings so that people who have concerns about signage to bring their concerns there, or to dispute signs that have to dispute signs that have been put up, or to dispute an area that has no signage. So far from my experience here, the town, most people who are local to the town, who have some historical stake in the town, that are third, fourth, fifth generation, they can't stand signs. But then we have others who have ventured and left the island and who understand how great signs could be. They're fighting for signs. So the traffic safety work group is the forum where all parties can meet and have that debate on signage.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something that's less obtrusive. I know the abhorrence for actual traffic lights. A sign that could turn to stop and go, because there are stop signs around the island, but
I don't think that that's a bad suggestion, sir. Please don't think I'm being dismissive. I personally think it's a good suggestion. But what would happen is, I would, like, say, for instance, what you're telling me now, I would put that in as a service request. Say, what's it called? Milestone Rotary should have an electric sign of this style and for this means, because I have a tough time daily merging in or coming out. I think this would be in the best interest of our safety. I would take that service request and I would pass it along to my lines and signs foreman, Ray Silva, and then at the next traffic safety group, he would present it. If you left your name and number, then we would give you the information, and either you can go yourself or have representation, someone else go on your behalf, and have that addressed by the traffic safety work group.
or maybe
the
we
reason-
can do it as our little advisory group here. Someone on behalf, if the group agrees with it.
Yeah, and the traffic safety work group is our filter, because we have legal representation. We have DPW.
Okay.
We have we had Mr. Mike Burns, but he left us, so it's Rob McNeil's covering until we find a replacement for him. But there are a number of ways we could improve traffic, but there's so many people with interest in that area. Changes are slow. Yeah. So, but your your concern is noted in, well, I understand. I get tired of trying to turn on to Old South from Fairgrounds so much. But they have everything that every traffic situation on the island has been discussed at one point or another. We just have to get it going through the traffic safety work group. That is the key committee for change in signage. But you had another question, sir, that I forgot about the first question.
Yes, it was about suggestions of, because the water that drains has different things in it,
Yeah.
like fertilizer or insecticides or other
That is
materials.
something that was of interest to me when I first got to the island. I noticed that there is some testing, but there are no sensors or anything of that sort. But once I got into mapping the drainage system in the Children's Beach distributary, so basically Easton, Lincoln, the Old Town, and realized that a number of our catch basins are not even connected. And then, as you say, it flows right into the yacht club through the pump house. So I believe it is on Natural Resources. They have a couple of people who do testing every so often. So, for instance, I didn't know about the E. coli. That's something I truly wish I would have known about before, when it happened rather than now. Because I want to reach out to, I want to say her name's Emily. There are a couple of scientists who check the water on a periodic basis.
Yeah, they closed the beach. They closed the beach for a couple of days last week, but they didn't blame it on the sewer system or the storm drains. They said it's something about tidal conditions.
It could be, but I would immediately have asked Natural Resources if they could do testing on do some water sampling on the drainage around there to make sure that it wasn't a contributor. So that at least we can rule it out, if not state it's an issue. So, and unfortunately, I feel bad now because realizing that I cannot even remember the young lady's name goes to show how long it's been since I've talked to her. And it has been about a year, I think, since I've talked to her. Last time that I've talked to her, she does the water sampling with or without me, but typically I like to be out there with her and for her to educate me on what she sees and what's coming from it and everything. So I have to reconnect on that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Who else has questions? Peter? You're on mute, Peter. Peter, you're on
Thanks.
mute.
I'm off now, right?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Thank you.
No, I can hear you.
Okay, Stephen, thanks very much for taking the time this morning to meet with us. It's a very valuable time. Quick question. I'm curious about how the department sets its priorities. And maybe in the course of responding to that, you can give us a few basics about the size of the department, the sort of the divisions within the department, and your staffing, which I gather is you need more help. So I'm curious where those areas are.
Oh, definitely. Let me see. Do I want to read off or just go from, I like to be more organic. Okay, basically the DPW is made up of approximately 30 people. Right now it's top heavy administratively, but that's necessary because of the amount of contracts and contractual work and interdepartmental work that we do. We have approximately 19 people 19 crew and technicians, laborers and technicians who do the physical actual work. And the rest of us are administrative or executive staff. We are divided into two teams, facilities and operations. Of course, there's an administrative team too, but what you visually see outside is those two teams. 90% of the time you see operations. Operations are made of the gentlemen who pick up the trash, cut the grass, service the fields, potholes, any sand removal, redirection, entrenching, assisting other departments with excavation. As a number, let me see, we assist with cemeteries. Most of you know Dale Gary, trees and vegetation. And we pavement, sidewalks, roadways, So anything that allows the public to be able to traverse and enjoy Nantucket without too much issue. Of course, there are issues, but we're trying to mitigate that as much as possible. The facilities crew is the smaller portion of the team. There are about 7 of the 19 gentlemen, and they work on all the town buildings and infrastructure. So anything that has a roof over it, pretty much, or the flagpoles and such, are done by our facilities team. So anything with complex with carpentry, masonry, electrical, tiling, air HVAC systems, that's all done by our facilities team. And the operations team takes care of everything else that I was discussing. Myself, I'm the deputy director of operations, and I oversee operations, but Richard Moore, he's more than capable of running the day-to-day operations. I'm more worried about trends analysis, public relations, contracting, improving systems, suggesting and applying contracts that will reduce the workload of the DPW and allow us to be more reactive, allow us to react to the public better, and to contract to someone else. Mark Voigt is the deputy director for facilities, and he has his own agenda as well. He's trying to improve the town properties and make sure that they're livable and they're cost effective and not just falling apart. And there are a number of projects that he could speak on that I'm not really aware of at the moment. We do not have a town engineer other than Rob McNeil. He is the director, and he is acting as the town engineer as well. But a number of projects that happen on the island, he oversees those engineers, and we have other engineers and he hires other engineers who act as our our project managers, excuse me, such as Ed Pesci, who's overseeing Richmond, and then we have Jim Verard, who's overseeing the sidewalks and the roads being improved. So it's a number of things. I'm sorry, I think I kind of went off on left field. Maybe I should have read from
No, that was very
the
helpful.
document.
Very helpful. I just asked a follow-up, which is setting obviously you've got a lot on your plate. How do you set the priorities? Is it the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, or how is it that these priorities are set?
Very good point. We are when I first got here, I realized that was, and Rob's been trying to change this too. The squeaky wheel getting the grease, we're trying to move away from that. We set up a weekly leadership meeting. So all the department heads, we meet together, and we basically bring to Rob what our concerns are and what we need assistance with. And usually it's more than any one of us can handle. So then we prioritize what we can do and what needs to be done. And sometimes it works out where we have this under contract, or there's a future capital level plan on this, and we find out that we've already had this as something out for bid, or something we could do on a larger scale that won't take our manpower and time, that we can actually pay someone else to do. So weekly that's how we prioritize things. We bring together our top 10, 20 issues, and then we prioritize those, and that's how we move on with them. Squeaky wheel, if there's something that is health and welfare, if it's a life or death situation, sanitation situation, everything goes on hold, and we have to address that issue first and until completion.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Stephen? Lou, anything? No? Kathy?
No.
Bill?
If there's anything that I didn't touch on that you would like me to bring back to you through email, links, or whatever, I'm more than happy to. So please feel free.
I have one, Gary. If we have time, I just have another question.
Yep.
Stephen, I think the committee has discussed in the past that this year we've a noticeable increase in trash alongside the roads, and our sense was that this may be because of COVID and the fact that the neighborhood groups who in the past have had these cleanup gatherings are not able to do so. Is that something you're seeing, and is there something you're doing about that?
That's happening on many different levels. Trash is a huge. If everything was to go to crap at DPW, the one thing that we could not stop is trash. Even if we had to get in the trucks ourselves, we'd have to do trash. Unfortunately, with roadside, some of the key people who left us or are on hold, they're the ones who we would send out, and they would just work tirelessly all day collecting trash. So what we've done to mitigate that is we set up 5 different areas, and I'll send you guys an email on this. 5 different drop locations where volunteers are allowed to who pick up roadside trash are allowed to make these drops, collect it, and put it aside. Not household trash. We will reject or fine people for household trash. But there are 5 areas on the island that you can put I'm screwing it up. Roadside trash, you can collect it and put it to the side, such as Clean Team. They meet every other week or every week. Those guys are a lifesaver. They're amazing. They collect so much stuff, and if it wasn't for them, it'd be so much worse than it was. But we just do not have the manpower that we had before, where we can have somebody out there consistently picking up trash on Pulpus, on Matticat, on a weekly basis. We don't have it in us. The best that we can do is before and after events is to get to Old Town to collect that trash there. So we're depending heavily on volunteers right now.
Now you
and
mentioned
there are about 3 or 4 groups doing it right now.
Okay, and we could contact those groups directly. Is that the idea, to let them know?
Yes. Well, no, they're not reactive.
Oh.
Clean Team meets every so often. You can. I'm sure they're open to suggestions like, "Hey, can you clean this? Can you clean that?" Clean Team is very well known for cleaning, very much neglected roads, and they also clean the beaches.
Okay.
So that's been extremely helpful. But you're more than welcome to submit a service request to us and to say that, hey, look, this. I mean, I know that we're lowering capacity, but it does not mean things aren't. That does not. We're not asking you to silence yourselves. So please let us know if there is a continuing problem in the area that you're concerned with, and then we will move it to Clean Team if we can. Say, hey, are you guys hitting this area? They would be appreciated if you get this or get that. We do have a very decent relationship with them, and with some other some organizations actually called us during COVID, begging for us to allow them to clean, but we couldn't go against the rule at the time. So, organizations like that call us every now and then. So it'd be appreciated, whatever you have.
Thank you.
Last question, Stephen. What about the town landfill? We're getting full, but we still have a little while to go, and I know the town is thinking about the next step.
Yes.
Other thoughts?
I'm not as well schooled as Rob and Miss Graham Durovich, but there are two. As my understanding, there are 2 cells in the landfill. One cell is about to get capped in the next 2.5 to 3 years. It's approaching the end of its use. What goes into the landfill are non-recyclable, non-compostable materials that have been thrown away with compostable materials. So we have 3 categories. We have recyclable, which is subdivided into other categories like glass, metal, and some other things, plastic. And then you have compostable, which is food and food, grass, organics. And then you have the non-compostable, which is undefined, everything else, plastics that would last for 3,000 years and whatnot, films, hard pieces, things that are not stamped as recyclable. Those get mixed in. So when it gets sorted and cleaned up, when it gets sorted and separated, the compostable is never truly 100% compostable. It still includes non-recyclable, non-compostable material. And that gets filtered out because we take the compostable material and we try to repurpose it. We had an area that we put it out, and we recondition those things into compost and usable soil that we put out in the front of the waste options for the public to use. But the rest of that material gets baled and goes to the landfill. So I know that I'm going more into what you were asking, but all that to say is that the less we put into our compostable organic trash, the less we'll be putting into our landfill. And, you know, the better it would be for the island. So I just wanted to make sure I made that statement.
Lou?
But the current cell is in about 2.5 years, they're going to cap it, and we're only going to have the other cell. I don't know what the way is after that. I don't know what way forward is after that piece. I would recommend inviting either Ms. Graham Durovich or Mr. I think it's JP Cannon from Waste Options to discuss that with the group. They would be able to discuss that in extreme detail.
Thank you. Lou?
I have an interest in getting rid of our solid waste with high temperature incineration. I want to know if that idea has been explored, and if it has been explored, have they gone further and looked at resource recovery, generating some electricity from the burning of the waste, and either using that at the landfill itself or putting it into the grid system?
I know that Sewer is discussing something like that on their site. And I know that it's been, your idea has been proposed several times before. But I'd have to talk to Mr. McNeil on that one. As of right now, I know that we're continuing to test the digestive process. The digester we have has been put through some lab tests where we're experimenting on what it can possibly break down with the temperature that it reaches. It takes approximately 3 days for things to go through and break down completely. But I understand what you're talking about. There's a system that is able to produce energy as well as remove some of the hard to remove materials. But I don't know if I know that that's been brought to the town's attention several times, but I don't know if it's really seriously being considered or not. I don't know the answer to that one.
High temperature incineration would be better than 2,000 degrees. That's where the burning would take place. Burns very clean, doesn't pollute the air. The white items would still be recyclable. And in the process of the burning, if you made some steam, you can start to generate some electricity.
Yes.
Again, I don't know how far we've gone in that area. And in fact, if you wanted to look at incineration, you could actually incinerate sewage instead of putting it out there in the sewer beds, but you can incinerate that also. And I just wondered if the town's ever gone that deep into the discussion of that type of removal for both sewerage and for our garbage problem.
Sewerage, I believe David Gray is looking into that, and he is very, very interested in that. They have the opportunity to put something like that in place and have assistance from federal and state funding, possibly because of the nature of wastewater. There's a lot of federal interest in that. So I believe David Gray might be a good person to talk to. On the waste options side, I think it's one of those legacy things that people are comfortable with, although they know that there are better systems out. And I'm saying individually, as an individual, not as DPW, there are better systems out there. But I think right now we're weighing things out, and everything's still on discussion. They're still discussing. No action has been taken to transform waste options into something else. Not that I'm aware of, but it is still heavily discussed. I believe Bruce Mandel and possibly a couple of other people had brought up the incineration as a possibility. And we are hearing it and we are discussing it, but I haven't seen anything actually being done about that yet.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? By the way, Lou, I'll mention that years ago, a friend of mine asked me if I would be interested in an investment. So I wrote a check and became an investor in a company called Green Waste Energy. And the reason I thought it was a great idea was because this company was developing a system to turn trash into energy. And we had a partner in South African company that was making these big machines, big turbines. And we would turn the trash into energy, and we would do it without burning anything into the atmosphere. So we said, this is a fabulous idea. Anyway, it turns out that in order to get that going, some municipality needs to spend about $100 million to put the plant in place. And so we never found, even though we've been talking to major cities in the US and in the UK, and even in Morocco, we haven't found any government that's willing to step up to make that investment. When I see the piles of trash in countries like India or in Haiti, you know, I say this is a perfect solution for them, but my investment is worth about zero now, unfortunately. It's a great idea, but the startup cost to put the plant in place has so far been a showstopper, unfortunately. I wish there was a smaller version of it that a municipality like Nantucket could use. It would be great. Great. Anyway, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us this morning and providing us with details about your organization. We're all in support. We're all supporting you guys, and we're trying to do as much as we can to help the island be successful, even with the limitations that this pandemic has caused. But we appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And anything that I was ambiguous on, or if you have more questions on, please, don't hesitate to email me, or you can go through the SR system anytime. I want to make sure that we're transparent, that we're communicating, and that we get you the information you need. I mean, we're supporting you guys.
What is your email address?
My email is sarceneaux@nantucket-ma.gov. I believe someone,
Okay, we have.
Who emailed me? Somebody emailed me. Yes.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. If you please, you can pass that out. But yeah, email me, and I may not respond within the same day, but I will respond. I will respond within the week.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks again, Stephen.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, so now let me go back to the regular part of our meeting. So we were starting to talk before about this possible letter to the editor, and I sent out a couple of drafts, the long one and the short one. My wife told me that the long one was that she didn't think the Inky would give that much space to. And so then I put together the short one, and Bill wrote back a note that I think he copied you all, where he made a few improvements in it. So what are your thoughts, folks?
Can I be the
Oh,
first one?
yeah.
I like the shorter version, number one. Number two, I would suggest that we may encourage people that may have an interest to view one of our meetings. Invite them to see the meeting from their home, and then determine whether or not this is something that they think that they may like to partake in.
Bill, yeah?
Yeah. Yes, I second what Lou says. I think the shorter, punchier version is the best. And I also think it's a good idea to invite prospective members to join us. But I'm stuck, as I'm sure you know, I'm stuck on the notion that we invite Mary Ann Stanton to speak. And I think sending her that letter at the same time that we invite her, and I think whoever on this committee knows her the best, I know her slightly, but I think it should be accompanied by a personal invite.
Anybody else have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree that with Bill. that she would be I don't know her at all, but it strikes me that the editor or publisher, whatever she is, of the local newspaper would be a good speaker and talk about issues that they're following and things of that nature. Plus, one of the points I think that you've made, Gary, a number of times is the role of the non-voting taxpayers in the economic success of the island. And I have to believe that that is true of the Inky as well, that probably a large percentage of their subscribers, not the newsstand sales particularly, but their subscribers are non-voting taxpayers.
Well, so I guess what I'm hearing is that people seem to like the shorter version. I think that makes sense as well. And I don't know, Lou, if we could add something in that, you know, you make it short. And one of the things I noticed is that, so if we send that to Marion Stanton, it may be something that is a prelude to, or an invitation. We don't have to do it at the same time, a prelude in the future to an invitation for her to be a speaker at one of our meetings, since we may be having these meetings a lot further into the fall than we have in the past, just because of the ability to do so virtually the way we're doing it now.
I think that,
Yes, Bill.
Peter, I think actually, I think Bill's suggestion of accompanying it, or at least with a cover note by someone who actually knows her, would be helpful both in getting it published and also in getting her before us. I'm afraid that if we send it to them and then it either doesn't get in the paper or it takes a while, the likelihood of getting her may be slightly lower. I just think we might have a better leverage opportunity to do it at the same time.
I agree with Peter completely. I think, you know, everybody loves a little flattery, and it might flatter her to know that our request is accompanied by an opportunity for her to speak.
Yeah, I just don't know. Right now, we have 2 speakers for the next meeting, so.
Well, we don't have to, no, I think it's just, I mean, Gary, I don't think it could be out, you know, we could invite her out for a September meeting or something. I don't think it's
some future meeting.
I think that the later into the season for her would be easier because as the island quiets down, she will have more time.
Yep. Yep. Well, okay, I'll have to take a look at that. So it would be
2 separate letters.
2 separate letters?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to find out who might, actually the person who writes that first letter, the invitation, I mean, can come from you, but it might be transmitted by someone who knows her.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, somebody then who knows her. I mean, Bill, you said you knew her somewhat. Yeah. I don't know her at all. Peter Halley doesn't know her either. I don't know if anybody else does.
Mm-mm.
Okay, Bill, it's yours. Where's Bill?
No, I'm here. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, could you write a cover letter with it? I mean, you could on behalf of the committee.
Yeah.
Short, you know, and let pass it by Gary.
Yeah.
Can we do it as a motion?
Yeah, we're first discussing it, then yeah, sure.
Yep. Okay, so Bill, you'll put together a cover letter. By the way, the end of the letter, you saw Bill Sherman added something. Thank you, Bill, for those comments. That maybe the best way, if you have an interest, you should, you know, either look at the town website or contact Erica Mooney. I was trying to figure out how people should respond to that, and maybe that's the best way to do that. Although we might tip off Erica that she may get a few calls from people, but that's where the applications go anyway, right? I mean, they go to her anyway, so she wouldn't be surprised about that. So I could give her a phone call and just say, we're going to propose to put this letter in the paper and we have your name in there, just so people are interested, as they would anyway. They would call you to find out how they apply for the position.
I just feel that you're going to have some people that may have an interest. They're not sure if this is a committee they want to serve on. and maybe Erica could suggest that they view one of our meetings from their home on their home computer to make that decision.
Yep.
Just the idea of saying to someone, this is a committee, there's an application, join, that may back a few people off. They may want to know a little bit more about us. Viewing a meeting, they would have a better understanding of what we do.
Yeah, we ought to take a look at that my short version, see if there's a couple of words we can stick in there that says which meetings are available, you know,
Mm.
I think that's good.
maybe we can add that.
You can ask Erica to say to some of those folks if they'd like to look at one of our meetings from home, they have that opportunity to do so.
Okay, so we all agree on that? Do we need a motion, or we just couldn't, I don't know if we need a resolution on that, but we can certainly proceed to do that.
I'll make the motion, and I want to thank Bill for the time that he's taken to write both of those letters.
Good.
Yes.
I would just say maybe we should put it on the next meeting agenda for a final disposition.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the big deal is, because we don't vote on the people we invite. We don't have a motion on the people we
Yeah.
invite, and it's not by consensus.
We vote on the letter.
We don't have to vote on any of that. It's not, I'm not
Okay.
sure that,
You're better
Consensus item.
than I am.
as long as we have a consensus that this is something we should do and people are
Yeah.
comfortable with the letter.
Sure.
I think
Okay, I will make the motion that Gary tweak the second shorter version of the letter so as to include Lou's suggestion that we would invite people to sit in on our meetings, and that following up on that letter, I would go see Mary Ann personally and discuss it with her and invite her to join us
Good,
at your event.
that's great. And
So moved.
you will submit to her our letter signed by me?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, great, Bill. Do we have a motion on that? or
yeah,
just-
so moved.
All right, second? Somebody wants to second that? Yeah, all in favor, just raise your hand so I see if we got all the votes. Unanimous, okay.
And
Okay.
yes,
I think we can actually end this meeting a little early this time if you'd like. The good news is our next meeting is for, what's that date? September,
19th, I think.
sooner than that,
Oh, September 5th.
5th, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's September 5th, Saturday, September 5th. Actually, before Labor Day this year, right? I think Labor Day is late this year. I think Labor Day is probably the 7th. And we have 2 speakers, and I'm pleased about that because the 2 speakers are the financial folks, the head of the Finance Committee, and one of the senior financial people from the town administration. So think about questions that you'd like to understand, and if we can give those questions in advance to Kathy, and she can send them and say some of the subjects our members would like to hear about, are the following, and so they can be prepared to answer those. After that meeting on the September 5, the next meeting would be September 19th.
Bill,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gary, could in that regard, I don't know if it was noticed, but that's the first day of the Jewish New Year, the high holiday of Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, really?
So I think I personally could not attend, but I think it would be inappropriate for us as a town entity to be having a meeting on that date.
You mean the 19th?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
We
that's
could do it.
interesting.
Yeah.
So let's just think about that. You're right. You're right. If it is a high holy day, it is a high holy day. So that
26th would be to do it, obviously next Saturday.
Yeah, what about that? The following Saturday, we'll go 3 weeks instead of 2. How does that
We'll
sound?
have to see if Rachel Day can speak that day. She already accepted for the 19th, so we'll have to ask her.
Yep. Yeah, please do so. Thanks, that was a good catch, Peter.
Do we want to ask anybody else? So we will be asking Mary Ann. Other people we had thought about would be Melissa Murphy and the police and fire chief. Do we want to wait on those?
Is Melissa Murphy is she the equity?
Member of the select board.
Oh, but who's the equity? We were also talking about somebody on the equity person on,
That's Rachel.
so that's Rachel. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's why she's
Yeah.
leading the charge for
Okay,
the whole town to deal with the whole issue of diversity, inclusion, and all the other things, so.
right.
We probably shouldn't overload that meeting with more than her, yeah. So if she's available for the 26th, then we don't have to worry about the following, and by then we'll know a little more if we're going to continue meeting into October or whatever. Or whether,
Okay.
maybe the state will change the rule that will allow continued meeting by virtual methodology as opposed to the old physical type meetings. Any other thoughts, questions, suggestions? If not, how about a motion to adjourn? Anyone want to make that motion?
Moved.
I move to adjourn.
Second, all in favor, raise your hand. Everybody approves. Everyone stay safe and wear a mask if you're in town. If you're not in town, wear a mask too. Wherever you are, wearing a mask is probably a good thing.
Right.
Stay well, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take
Kathy.
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.